An extremely important aspect of the Urantia book is the life and teachings of Jesus of Nazareth. This is part 4 of the book, and it's something like 700 pages or something. Very detailed, because this was supplied by a secondary midwayer who is like an angelic type of being, who was once assigned to the superhuman watch care of the apostle Andrew. So it's Andrew's guardian angel that writes these papers. And look at how many pages this is, folks. It has so many details about the exact times that they did everything, every utterance that Jesus said throughout the life, how his family felt about it. And it never got the opportunity for change or piecemeal throughout the ages, because you're getting the direct. Now, I know that takes a level of faith to believe, but let's just approach with a level of open-minded first and see how profound it is. And then it wouldn't be a blind faith. All right, let's check this out. We're looking at page 1344. This is the birth and infancy of Jesus. Now, it explains it in a way that's different than the Bible. The Urantia book also goes through the Bible and says where it got changed down the road, why it got changed. A lot of it was about the fact of Jesus' resurrection. And that was how the religion formed around that. And it became more of this religion about Jesus rather than the religion of Jesus. So in all of these facts and everything like that, don't forget the important aspect, which is Jesus' message. And that is the brother and sisterhood of all humans, not just believers. It's not to be a cult of believers like this Christian group. It's supposed to be for all. And the son and daughtership of God. So that is his simple message. But it became the religion. That was his religion, but it became the religion about. All right, so let's look at the birth and infancy of Jesus. It will hardly be possible fully to explain the many reasons which led up to the selection of Palestine for the land of Michael's bestowal. Now, who is Michael? Michael is Jesus' actual personality. They call it a creator son of a local universe, the Order of Michael. Each one creates a local universe, and there's 700,000 local universes, each with 10 million inhabited worlds. So there's actually 700,000 Jesuses. They don't teach that Jesus is the second person of the Trinity. They teach that Jesus is an offspring of the eternal Father and the eternal Son. He is not the eternal Son himself. There's 700,000 of them. But it's not going against the Bible, where the Bible says that Jesus is in the Trinity, because they are literally one, literally and figuratively. If you have seen the Son, then you have seen the Father. There's this oneness with the Order of Michael and the Father and the Son and the Trinity and everything like that. So you might as well say that he's in the Trinity, but technically speaking, there's a personality that is not in the Order of Michael, that's in the Trinity, the eternal Son, and we can read papers about that being as well. But this being, Michael of Nebadon, that being the name of our universe, needed to bestow himself 7 times in his universe of his creation to understand what it's like to live there, not just as the administrator, the top dog, the higher up, but to get down there, roll up his sleeves. What's it like to be born as a baby and have a family and stuff like that? So Jesus was his 7th bestowal. The other ones featured him as, what's it like to be an angel in my universe, and that sort of thing. You can read about all of his different bestowals. Okay, so that's a little background. And especially as to just why the family of Joseph and Mary should have been chosen as the immediate setting for the appearance of this Son of God on Urantia. After a study of the special report on the status of segregated worlds prepared by the Melchizedeks in council with Gabriel, Michael finally chose Urantia as the planet wherein to act his final bestowal. And also, I'll point out there, if these facts seem different, like they explain that Jesus didn't have a virgin birth from Mary, if that seems counter to your Bible, do not throw this out. You're going to be missing a lot of really, really profound and good lessons here. We can't just cast aside things as being satanic because they didn't have some sort of virgin birth, and this is literally written by Satan so that we can try to undermine the virgin birth of the Bible or something like that. But if you think about it, remember, we always try to approach things practically. There wouldn't need to be a virgin birth. It doesn't really do anything other than add some sort of mystique and storyline behind how this being came into the world. But what would a miracle be if God were to invent laws of physics and then people were to abjugate or destroy those laws of physics to create miracles? Then why would God not just include those and consider those as higher physics? So there's no miracles in the universe. They do say that Jesus manifested the wine and the bread. They said he didn't walk on water because that would be a pointless type thing. But he did manifest the wine and the bread to feed the people. But it wasn't a miracle. It was more just a higher understanding of physics. And they explain that if you are Urantian scientists are going to figure out how this type of matter system works, and do manifestations, something like that. I don't remember the exact, but we were looking at that the other day. So that is not, there's no miracle birth. There doesn't need to be a miracle birth. But you'll see, we're going to look, Joseph and Mary were special individuals. Okay. Let's see. All right. Gabriel made a personal visit to Urantia, and as a result of his study of human groups and his survey of the spiritual, intellectual, racial, and geographic features of the world and its peoples, he decided that the Hebrews possessed those relative advantages which warranted their selection as the bestowal race. Upon Michael's approval of this decision, Gabriel appointed and dispatched to Urantia the family commission of 12, selected from among the higher orders of universe personalities, which was entrusted with the task of making an investigation of Jewish family life. You can see behind the scenes, what are they doing? They're looking at these different individuals, Gabriel being an angel of Michael. When this commission ended its labors, Gabriel was present on Urantia and received the report nominating 3 prospective unions as being, in the opinion of the commission, equally favorable as bestowal families for Michael's projected incarnation. See, that's incarnation, a very rare thing. From the 3 couples nominated, Gabriel made the personal choice of Joseph and Mary, subsequently making his personal appearance to Mary, at which time he imparted to her the glad tidings that she had been selected to become the earth mother of the bestowal child. Joseph and Mary. So let's just kind of skim over these because there's a few important sections. Joseph, the human father of Jesus, Joshua ben Joseph, was a Hebrew of the Hebrews, albeit he carried many non-Jewish racial strains, which had been added to his ancestral tree from time to time by the female lines of the progenitors. The ancestry of the father of Jesus went back to the days of Abraham, through this venerable patriarch to the earlier lines of inheritance leading to the Sumerians and Nodites, and through the southern tribes, ancient Blue Men. So he had a lot of good genetics. David and Solomon were not the direct line of Joseph's ancestry. Neither did Joseph's lineage go directly back to Adam. Joseph's immediate ancestors were mechanics, builders, carpenters, masons, and smiths. Joseph himself was a carpenter and later a contractor. His family belonged to a long and illustrious line of nobility of the common people, accentuated ever and anon by the appearance of unusual individuals who had distinguished themselves in connection with the evolution of religion on Urantia. So he did have, quite the propensity for spirituality in his genetics. Mary, the earth mother of Jesus, was a descendant of a long line of unique ancestors. This is interesting. Now, Mary's not a superhuman or anything like that. In fact, she vacillated whether or not she would have believed in Jesus throughout her life. Joseph died when Jesus was younger, but they said if Joseph had survived, he would have been in line to believe in Jesus, more so than Mary, who was even vacillating. But look at their genetics here. Ancestors embracing many of the most remarkable women in the racial history of the planet. Although Mary was an average woman of her day and generation, possessing a fairly normal temperament, she reckoned among her ancestors such well-known women as Anan, Tamar, Ruth, Bathsheba, Anzi, Chloe, Eve, Enta, and Rada. I don't know who all these, but like Rada, for instance, this is violet DNA. Eve, we talked about that ancient alien type DNA stuff that was on the planet. That's what people just call it. They call it violet DNA or Adamic DNA. No Jewish woman of that day had more illustrious lineage of common progenitors, or one extending back to more auspicious beginnings. Mary's ancestry, like Joseph, was characterized by the predominance of very strong but average individuals, relieved now and then by numerous outstanding personalities in the march of civilization and the progress of religion. So she really had, like, racially considered, it is hardly proper to regard Mary as a Jewess. In culture and belief, she was a Jew, but in hereditary endowment, she was more composite of Syrian, Hittite, Phoenician, Greek, and Egyptian stocks. Her racial inheritance became more general than that of Joseph. So look at how detailed this is. Of all the couples living in Palestine at about the time of Michael's projected bestowal, Joseph and Mary possessed the most ideal combination of widespread racial connections and superior average of personality endowments. It was the plan of Michael to appear on earth as an average man, that the common people might understand him and receive him. See, right away, if he had this virgin birth thing, it's where for Gabriel, they don't want to see the thing. If you did too many things to make spirituality obvious for people, then it would deprive them of the faith walk. Even so, even Jesus did these many different things. Many people disbelieved him. I believe it was only 500 in his entire life that really truly believed him. And who knows, he could have even talked to millions. But, so, if there was just this brass band of angels all of a sudden appeared and you got to stay in the balance here. The divine has to stay in the balance, or else they'll deprive us of a faith walk. And they might as well just create a perfect being anyways. They might as well just create us as a perfect angel, or a Havona native. The common people might understand and receive him, whereby Gabriel selected just persons as Joseph and Mary to become the bestowal parents. So yes, they had that really good DNA, but nobody knew that like the people that are hiring Joseph and Mary's friends and stuff, they didn't know that she was in lineage with Eve and things like that. Okay, so Gabriel appeared in these dreams to sort of prepare. Same thing, he appeared in a dream to Mary here, or maybe he came to her. It wasn't a dream. Joseph also had a preparatory thing, the world's deliverer. Now, there's this interesting concept about the problem that the Jews had with Jesus in his life was that they were expecting him to be a political deliverer, and that's what happened with Mary's, her side of the family was here. Okay, look at it. It's right here. The larger part of Joseph's family became believers in the teachings of Jesus, but very few of Mary's people ever believed in him until after he departed from this world. Joseph leaned more toward the spiritual concept of the expected Messiah. See, that's the concept that we should lean towards. But Mary and her family, especially her father, held to the idea of the Messiah as a temporal deliverer and political ruler. They thought that he was going to take up the throne of David, and this type of, I am the head of the world, look at my power, I am a political mastermind and everything. But Jesus had nothing to do with politics. He rejected them, really, because if he got too quagmired with, he gave a political discourse, a brilliant political discourse that's in here about what type of what is the role of politics and government. But he avoided politics because we couldn't even get the simple message of brother and sisterhood of all and, faith in God. They turned it into the fact of his resurrection, and, now we need to drink from the blood of the cup and blah, blah, blah. And so even at the time, when he was resurrected, the apostles were like, holy crap, this is freaking crazy. Let's write books about this. And they wrote all these, Apostle Paul and all them. and it's all like resurrection, and you need to believe in this resurrection, and then like the Lamb of God or whatever, the sacrificial lamb that God sent down. It wasn't any of that. So he tried his best just to get across that one simple thing, and that's a common theme. Mary's ancestors have been predominantly identified with the Maccabean activities of then, but recent times. I don't know what that means. Maccabean. So yeah, that recurred over and over and over. People always wanted him to take up the throne, and he already had the throne of a freaking local universe with, I think it's got like 3.5 million inhabited worlds in it right now. So, that was just completely small potatoes. But in fact, he ended up being the planetary prince, and taking that. Now let's look at this. This is kind of interesting. So yeah, they say that they was born in the manger here, which is interesting. He had many brothers and sisters. I think it was like 10 or something like that. I forget where he was in the... Okay, here, we'll look at this. Herod acts. But the watchers of Herod were not inactive. Here, this is some sort of like a prayer maybe his younger sister said or something like that. So if you're into prayers and things and you want to see if they read your book, they have a couple things like this. But it's not like it's required or stuff like that. You pray how you choose to in your own heart with the Creator. But the watchers for Herod were not inactive. When they reported to him the visits of the priests of to Bethlehem, see, they did have those. They knew that something was going on here. There was enough, hubbub about it. That it was Herod summoned these Chaldeans to appear before him. He inquired diligently of these wise men about the new king of the Jews. So right away, you can see there was already this controversy surrounding him. But they gave him little satisfaction, explaining that the babe had been born of a woman who had come down to Bethlehem with her husband for the census enrollment. Herod, not being satisfied with this answer, sent them forth with a purse and directed that they should find the child so that he too might come and worship him, since they had declared that his kingdom was to be spiritual. See, that he wanted to make sure that he's not going to, this political, I believe it was a Greek, I forget, but he didn't want Jesus to upturn what he was doing with the head of his political thing. But they said, since they had declared that his king was to be spiritual, not temporal. But when the wise men did not return, Herod grew suspicious. As he had turned these things over in his mind, his informers returned and made full report of the recent occurrences in the temple, bringing him a copy of parts of the Simeon song, which had been sung at the redemption ceremonies of Jesus. But they had failed to follow Joseph and Mary, and Herod was very angry with them when they could not tell him whether the pair had taken the babe. He then dispatched searchers to locate Joseph and Mary. Knowing Herod pursued the Nazareth family, Zacharias and Elizabeth remained away from Bethlehem. The boy baby was secreted with Joseph's relatives. Oh, they might have wanted to kill him. They might have, I forget. Joseph was afraid to seek work, and their small savings were rapidly disappearing. Oh, okay, he was in hiding. Even at the time of the purification ceremonies of the temple, Joseph deemed himself sufficiently poor to warrant his offerings for Mary, 2 young pigeons, as Moses had directed for the purification of mothers among the poor. When, after more than a year of searching, Herod's spies had not located Jesus, and because of the suspicion that the babe was still concealed in Bethlehem, he prepared an order directing that a systematic search be made of every home in Bethlehem, and that all boy babies under 2 years of age should be killed. Look at how crazy things were. Now they have to do it. Now, if they want to kill all boys under 2 years of age, they have to say that they're in a terrorist race, and then they can just bomb, 40,000 civilians or whatever, or kill all these Ukrainians and stuff like that. So they're still doing it, but they can't just be open and upfront about it. Now they have to do it in secretive ways or say the right things in order to get the public on the side of giving them all of their tax money to build these bombs and kill all of these babies. In a manner, Herod hoped to make sure that this child was to be become king of the Jews would be destroyed, see? And thus perish in one day 16 boy babies in Bethlehem of Judea. But intrigue and murder, even in his own immediately family, were common occurrences in the court of Herod. The massacres of these infants took place at about the middle of October 6 BC, when Jesus was a little over 1 year of age, but there were believers in the coming Messiah, even among Herod's court attaches, and one of these, learning of the order to slaughter the Bethlehem boy babies, communicated with Zacharias, who in turn dispatched a messenger to Joseph. And the night before the massacre, Joseph and Mary departed from Bethlehem with the babe for Alexandria in Egypt. In order to avoid attracting attention, they journeyed alone to Egypt with Jesus. They went to Alexandria on funds provided by Zacharias, and there Joseph worked at his trade while Mary and Jesus lodged with well-to-do relatives of Joseph's family. They sojourned in Alexandria for 2 full years, not returning to Bethlehem until after the death of Herod. So he just narrowly escaped that. Just interesting things that conspire to make all this stuff happen. But I mean, he was a success. He was a great success for this planet, and we assimilated as much as we could. And the fact that we can't assimilate more of that, we shouldn't beat ourselves up, but we'll be open and ready to assimilate more of his life and his message of spiritual unity, not uniformity. All right, folks, that's just a little bit about it. But remember, it's just, look, they have like his 5th year. What did Jesus do when he was 5? 2 BC. See, they even correct the date as far as when he was actually born in 3 BC, according to that. You know, it's just really, really detailed about his whole entire life. So definitely check it out. Please like and subscribe. Thanks again for everybody who's participating, and we'll see you in the next vid.